Hello, hi. My name is Ron Gatchalian. I'm the transitional coordinator at Glenbrook North High School, and I'm just here to introduce four wonderful panelists that we have from the Madison area. I'm going to have them introduce themselves as they present. I think we're waiting for one of them. I don't know if he joined yet, but since we have the four presenters, we may not have as much time for Q&A at the very end, but I will post their contact info towards the end of this presentation, and you can also contact them down the road. So today I think we'll get started. Oh, sorry.
Real quick. Oh, it's okay. I'm just going to go over just a couple of things about this presentation, and then we'll jump right back in. So my name is Rachel Georgakis. I am the facilitator from IACAC as a volunteer today for this virtual college exploration session. And so we're just going to go over a few things about this webinar, and then we'll jump in and get right started. So how do you ask questions? There is a Q&A button for you to type in your questions at the bottom. And so if you have a question, click on that. You can type that in, and all of the panelists will be able to see that question, and they will do their best to answer all of them. If your question doesn't get answered, it is getting emailed to panelists later. So that they will be able to answer your question as much as possible. And I apologize for the baby in the background. This is what the new work from home life is. Your camera and microphone are off. So you are muted, your video is off. Panelists cannot see or hear you. We'd love for you to sign up for more sessions. This is just one of many college presentations offered. If you go to iacac.org, you can check out the schedule. And then lastly, there will be a recording available of this session. This session and all other sessions will be available at iacac.org, and we hope that you check those out because we know that you're not available to check out everything at the same time due to your school schedule or work schedule. So without further ado, I do want to turn it back over to Ron, and I will let him introduce the panelists and get this session started.
Great. Sorry, I jumped the gun there. So again, we have four great panelists from Madison, Wisconsin area. I'll let them introduce themselves as we have four of them presenting today. I just want to give them as much time as possible to talk about all the great things going on their various campuses or organizations. So again, I will post all of their contact information at the end so that you can talk to them and interact with them directly. Okay, Jessica, do you want to go ahead and lead us off?
Sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Jessica Corlioros. I'm the Assistant Director of Student Services at the McBurney Disability Resource Center on the campus of UW-Madison. Thanks so much for joining us today, and I look forward to sharing a bit more about UW.
Jessica, you want to go ahead and do your presentation, and then we'll give Scott a little bit of time to get on, and then you can introduce yourselves right before you guys do your spot on your various schools. How does that sound?
Sounds good. Sorry about the delay.
Right. Oh, no, it's my fault.
All right, so I'll go ahead and jump in and just share a little bit of information about the McBurney Center, again, on the campus of UW-Madison. A question we get often is when do I affiliate with McBurney? How do I reach out to kind of start the process for post-secondary disability services? And every student who gets into the UW-Madison, so follows kind of the typical or the regular application process, once admitted, would then reach out to our office. And that process just looks as simple as an online application. It's very basic information, giving us a little bit of information about you, the student, potentially history and use of accommodations, different diagnoses that you might identify with, and some basic information about why you're contacting us. That application then gets forwarded to and assigned to one of our access consultants. We have 10 access consultants who work directly with students, and those access consultants will walk students and their families through the eligibility process with our center. Typically, the process looks at two different things, right? The student self-report, so that initial meeting that we're having with the student to really understand and hear from them and you, students, what the impact is of your disability on learning. we really take a holistic approach to our process. So we really want to understand all aspects of you and life on campus and potential and what that looks like. So we'll go through reading, writing, note-taking, exam accommodations, other in-class supports, but we'll also ask about housing and diet and medication management and all of those things that kind of go into the holistic view of the student and kind of envisioning yourself on campus and what supports might be necessary. So in terms of the process, again, we'll have that initial meeting with the access consultant where it's just us having an hour-long conversation, gathering information. And then we also need a little documentation to confirm diagnosis. Documentation could look different for many different people and for every person really, and it's dependent upon, again, diagnosis and kind of history of use of accommodation. So we don't have any one requirement for documentation, and we're definitely getting away from asking for the entire file cabinet. We really just need some recent documentation, hopefully within kind of the past 5 years, to really look at confirmation of diagnosis from a clinician. Some information about functional impact would also be really helpful for us. So students can submit maybe the most recent copy of an IEP or 504 plan or formal accommodation plan from high school. Students can also submit a neuroed or a psychoeducational evaluation, so that full assessment, again, hopefully within the past 5 years would be most helpful. We've also had letters from clinicians. We've had a host of other types of documentation, again, just kind of dependent on each individual situation. But again, we need something to confirm diagnosis and then to give us a little bit of information about that impact. In terms of accommodations available at UW-Madison, through this eligibility process, we will figure out and discuss with the student as an interactive process what accommodations would be most fitting and most supportive. So whether that's alternative testing, right? Test accommodations, extra time, reduced distraction environment, breaks during tests, access to different assistive technology during testing. All of those testing accommodations will be discussed and decided upon during that initial eligibility process. We have a host of other accommodations as well, ranging from furniture accommodations in the classroom to flexible deadlines and due dates, really looking at deaf and hard of hearing services, so interpreting and captioning support. Note-taking support in the class, and different technologies or apps that might be applicable for students to use. So again, we serve a broad range of students. We have about 3,500 students total affiliated with our office at this time, and we're all generalists, so we all work with a number of different students with different diagnoses and different histories. So we really take that individualized approach to hear from the student, to understand, have they used something in the past? If so, was it helpful? And does that translate to the post-secondary environment? Sorry, a fly is going on here. Once those accommodations are decided upon, then our staff work really well with students to train the students on each individual accommodation and how it's set up on campus. We work really much in partner, really heavily in partner with our campus partners across campus, whether that's instructors, TAs, and professors, or with our housing partners and other folks on campus. So really, we're looking at equal access to the entire experience at UW-Madison. So our access consultants will offer support and assist in students in setting up those accommodations. I have time and a half. Great. What does that look like? How do I actually implement that in my classes? My class is virtual. How do I make sure that that time and a half is implemented? So we really walk through, especially that first year and those first 2 semesters, to make sure that students have what they need to move forward. I can get into more specifics later if there's time, but just to share some other supports, we have a really strong transition in program at UW-Madison, and that consists of an orientation. Again, 2 days, typically parents, family supports, and students to talk through the transition to college and what that means and kind of all the caveats that go along with that. We also have a host of campus supports as well, whether that's university-wide tutoring, group tutoring, drop-in tutoring, one-on-one tutors for hire. Each department and large kind of heavy class, so those large, 300 plus person freshman, sophomore lectures will have learning lab opportunities. Again, kind of a breakdown to go through homework and really make that big feel small, which is part of our goal on campus. We also have internal supports for students who need kind of the executive functioning support, so around time management and organization, study skills, reading strategies, things like that. Again, students affiliated with McBurney will have an extra option to opt into those types of supports as well. In addition to, of course, the university health services and the host of mental health supports on campus. Again, group tutoring, counseling, therapy, etc. So I'm just being mindful of time, but that's a general overview. Again, our office is very well ingrained on campus and in the community. Folks know who McBurney is on campus, and faculty will reach out often to consult with us. And the access consultant is there with the student every step of the way. We really train on self-advocacy and self-determination and let students kind of pave their way. And they need to come to us if there's an issue, right? They're adults at this point, and so we're always here if needed, but we do put a great deal of support in their own self-advocacy on campus. So thanks for listening again, Jessie Corlioros from UW-Madison, and I'll be happy to answer any questions kind of once my colleagues are through. Thanks.
All right, thank you, Jessica. Scott Ritter from Madison College may or may not be able to join us. He's having some, his internet is out, apparently. He just sent me a text. So he's trying to address that, and so may not be on. If he gets on a little bit later in the presentation or the panel presentation, we'll definitely give him some time to talk. Marissa, are you in a place to go ahead and introduce yourself and spend some time talking? We have a little more time since Scott's not here, so go ahead and take it away.
Thanks, Ron. So as Ron said, my name is Marissa Blackmore. I am the interim director of the Cutting Edge program at Edgewood College. So the Cutting Edge program is actually a program within Edgewood College. Edgewood is just down the street from our much larger counterpart, UW-Madison. We're located on Lake Wingra. We're a pretty small school. We're a small private liberal arts school. We have about 1,500 students here at Edgewood, and then we have 24 students within our program. So within our program, our students have a wide range of abilities. So we are primarily a program for students with intellectual and developmental disabilities, but truly we accept students with all types of disabilities. Some examples might be Down syndrome, on the autism spectrum, students who have experienced a brain injury, cerebral palsy, learning disabilities, et cetera, et cetera. Really, the sky's the limit within our admissions process. We don't have a specific list of disabilities that we only accept. Our students do have the option to pursue a degree while they're in our program, so they would be enrolled in our traditional undergraduate process, but then they would also go through our cutting edge admissions process as well in order to seek a degree. So our students are able to choose any degree that Edgewood College offers if that's the path that they take. Alternatively, we also have students who are here not seeking a degree. So we have a few certificate options that our students can choose from. We have a paraprofessional certificate, so students who are maybe hoping to be a teacher's assistant in the classroom. We have a 21st Century Skills for Employment certificate. This is for students who are maybe looking to be in an office setting or a business setting. And then we also have a completely customizable certificate, which is what many students end up choosing. And this is their certificate that we can completely customize to their needs and their career pathway. So that's just a little bit about us. In terms of our accommodations, we partner with our Office of Accessibility and Disability Services in order to ensure that our students are receiving the proper academic accommodations. So that could be extra time on tests, a note taker in the classroom, alternative text, a quiet testing environment, et cetera, et cetera. We primarily use the student's most recent IEP to determine these accommodations, but we do accept a variety of documentation. With the students that we serve, our students almost always have an IEP, but we're happy to accept other documentation that they might have as well if that's not something that they possess. And then we also do offer modifications for our students who are not here to seek a degree. So if our students are here to receive a certificate, we are able to work with professors in order to make modifications to the curriculum if needed. Many of our students throughout their time here don't need those modifications, but we are able to work with professors here on campus to make modifications if needed. We have a really close relationships with all of our professors, and that's really due to just having such a small campus to work with. Another support that we offer are peer supports. So this is what makes our program really special and really unique. So our students are primarily supported by their peers. We only have a very small staff. There's only me and a couple of other fine folks who work with me professionally, but then really our students are primarily supported by undergraduate students just like themselves. So I'll just run through really quickly a list of peer supports that we offer. So we have course coaches. These are peer supports who help our students inside and outside of the classroom with time management, with understanding the content of the class, study skills, etc. They really act as a tutor for our students. We also employ independent living mentors. Independent living mentors promote independence in the residence halls. Our students are able to live anywhere on campus while they're here. We do have a couple of students who choose to commute within the Madison community. We also have community engagement mentors. Community engagement mentors are undergraduate students who are employed by us who make sure that our students are really tuned in with the community and are being connected socially with the community, attending events and such. We also host some events ourselves here in our office. We have health and wellness mentors. These are undergraduate students who lead small group sessions with our students around the areas of fitness, mindfulness, and wellness. And then we also have volunteer peer mentors as well. So these are students who really just spend time with our students who are in our program each week and volunteer their time. And our students really become friends, which is great. So truly it does take a campus community. Our students are supported by staff and faculty, us as cutting edge staff, and an academic advisor, but again, they're primarily supported through those peer supports. Just a really quick plug. So our program is currently going through our admissions process for fall 2021. So there's an online application link, and then there's a short list of materials to submit if your student is interested in applying for our program. I'm happy to provide some of that information if you reach out to me after this session. Ron will be providing my contact information here at the end of the session. So this application process is September through November 30th. And we also have an open house coming up here on October 2nd, which I can also provide you some information for via email. So with that said, thank you so much for listening. And maybe I'll be able to answer some questions at the end here.
Great, thank you, Marissa. Scott is still not here, so I will save some time to speak about Madison College and a little bit why we put this great group together. But Jake, I saw you pop on there. Do you mind going next? And then let's hear a little bit about Mansfield Hall.
Great. Thanks, Ron. I appreciate it. And thanks everybody for being here, both my colleagues in the Madison area and all of our participants. Thanks for taking time out of your day. So Mansfield Hall is not a college. We are not the degree granting institution. Mansfield Hall is a residential, academic, social, and independent living skill support network for college students. We are located in Madison, Wisconsin, as well as Burlington, Vermont, and Eugene, Oregon, but we're here to talk about Madison. And Mansfield Hall is probably the easiest way to describe it is as the super dorm. So our students live at Mansfield Hall and they attend any one of the local schools that you're hearing from. So we have students at the University of Wisconsin, we have students at Edgewood College, we have students at MATC, and our students are degree-seeking students, students who are college capable and who are engaged on their college campuses, but who are benefiting from a little bit higher touch in terms of academic, pro-social, and or independent living skill support. So again, the easiest way I think to think of Mansfield Hall is really as the super dorm. We're just like a regular college dorm in the sense that everybody at Mansfield Hall is a college student and is attending school. But the super dorm part is all of this added attention in what we identify as 4 core areas of living, learning, giving, and engaging. And really that comes down to academics and executive functioning skills, it's pro-social development, it's independent living skills, and it's being active in the community and giving back to the community. So students come to Mansfield Hall in order to both attend one of the local schools, but also get a little bit higher touch support in these 4 domains. And the kind of support that we're providing is really walking that line in between recognizing that our students are young adults, they're independent, they are college students, certainly they come and go as they please. We're located right in the heart of undergraduate housing, just off of State Street and right in downtown Madison. Walk out the front door and our students are just like any other college student in Madison. And they're attending any one of the local colleges in Madison. But they are also working with our professional staff to get some targeted support in these 4 core areas. So that might include things like working with an academic director to set really targeted academic goals, or working with an academic coach or writing instructor in-house as they prepare for their assignments or their academic engagement on campus. And it's not uncommon for our students to also be working with the Student Services Office on any one of the local campuses. So a Mansfield Hall student might also be working with the McBurney Center, or might be working with Scott Ritter at MATC. So our students are engaged all over the place, but they're getting a little bit added support from our professional staff at Mansfield Hall. They're also getting some very targeted support in terms of pro-social development and independent living skills. One of the benefits of living at the super dorm is that there's this ready-made social community for our students, as well as a community to participate in both in-house Mansfield Hall activities, but also to help our students learn how to engage in the amazing things that are available at each of these local colleges and universities. So certainly the goal is to be engaged on the university, to be engaged in town, and some students need a little bit slower start, a little bit higher touch, and Mansfield Hall can provide that with in-house activities, clubs, organizations, things like that as well. Students are also benefiting from very directed support in terms of independent living skills. So, our students are completely capable of living independently. They're certainly on a trajectory to be able to have a successful independent college experience, but they might benefit from a little bit longer runway, a little bit softer landing as they leave home in high school and go to college, and a little bit longer runway before they're really ready to launch fully independently. So typically a student will come to Mansfield Hall for a year or 2 residentially, and then they'll move on to Edgewood College campus or into the dorms at the University of Wisconsin, or into an apartment and continue on with their local studies at MATC. So Mansfield Hall provides that soft landing in Madison, provides a little bit higher touch support mechanism, a little bit more activated professional support. So we're not 100% reliant on students to always self-initiate and self-advocate for every aspect of that transition into college, but our professional staff is there to help facilitate that, And then after a year or two residentially, students can move on to a greater level of independence. So certainly a lot of opportunities to use Mansfield Hall a couple of different ways. But again, probably the easiest way to think about us is as the super dorm. And we work with all kinds of students. Primarily our students would self-identify as having a learning difference or on the autism spectrum, ADHD, executive functioning. Those are primarily the things that that our students are bringing to the table. And in terms of our kind of 5 core criteria for enrollment, number 1, our students are nice, they're thoughtful, they're kind, they're just great young adults. They're college capable. All of our students are on a degree seeking track and they're fully ready to be engaged in formal post-secondary education, even if they need some additional support on the side. So they're nice, they're college capable, they're quirky, or at least quirky compatible. You don't have to be quirky to be cool at Mansfield Hall, but you got to be cool with other people's quirks. We want to have an inclusive community that really accepts students for who they are as they are in the process of becoming who they will be. Students are community oriented and socially motivated, and certainly as a centralized service delivery model, our housing, our staff offices, our community space, our study space is all under one roof. It's around the kitchen table. It's that centralized service delivery model. Our students are community oriented and they benefit from being in an active living and learning community. The final piece is that our students are ready, willing, and able to work in a coaching model. We are all about goal setting, progress monitoring, feedback, and course correction as needed. But this is really a partnership with students in order to help them identify and articulate and set and achieve their own goals across all of these domains as they make this transition from home and high school into college and independence. The final thing I'll say is that students don't necessarily have to be formally admitted at one of the local colleges before making the Mansfield Hall decision. A number of the local schools offer open enrollment or non-matriculated registration opportunities. So that is a possibility as well. A student can look at Mansfield Hall independent of the college application process, and we can then help support that process as students are taking 4 credit classes in a transferable real college credit, but they might be able to start off a little bit slower as a non-matriculated student and then matriculate into one of the local schools over time. So, certainly welcome folks to check us out. Again, Mansfield Hall, MANSFIELD HALL. Please don't hesitate to let us know if you've got any questions. And I'm going to send it back to Ron to see how we're doing on time, whether Scott made it or if we just want to do questions. But thanks, everybody.
Yeah, unfortunately, Scott couldn't get logged on, whatever the internet issue was. It happens in this day and age. Certainly, I think it was construction related, so nothing that he could have avoided there. So the whole block, I think, or the whole area is knocked out with the internet service. So maybe an early day for him over there. So, but that's okay. Scott is a great, has been a great partner over the years at the various schools that we've known him at. He's been at Madison College, which is, again, also in the city of Madison. So hopefully you can see that connective theme here where where there are so many different options available to you in the city of Madison with these wonderful, wonderful colleges and people that we've worked with over the years. I've had the advantage of having had students over the years attend all of these programs in some capacity at different times and had wonderful, wonderful experiences at all of these places. Certainly they took their time and found the right fit. Sometimes they had to make some adjustments, certainly. And whether it was the school setting or whether it was the timelines that they were taking a look at. And Jake kind of mentioned some of that in terms of what Mansfield Hall offers. An away from home experience, but then also, seeing which programs sometimes can be the best fit at any particular time. Yeah, so there's so many combinations, and it's such a unique opportunity to be able to have access to these types of programs in the same city, in a wonderful, wonderful college town. You know, the two beautiful lakes out there, a lot of outdoor stuff, a lot of restaurants to go to. So you do get a really rich experience in the city of Madison and with all of these schools. Just wonderful to work with. My colleagues with the Choices group, and then I'll put some information up. I'm going to try to do this now here. I think I did the wrong screen there. So hopefully you can see this here as I'm kind of chatting there. There's Jessica and Scott, Marissa and Jake. You just all heard from today. And my name is Ron Gatchalian, and I'm sorry I didn't put my colleague who is here as well from Libertyville High School, Stephanie Henricks, who is going to lead the Q&A session here in a few minutes. But again, please feel free to, if we don't answer your question or something comes up later, or if you're somebody who sees the recorded version of this later on, you can certainly reach out to any or all of these people. They're wonderful to work with. They will get back to you. My Choices colleagues and I, and you'll see the link there for the Choices Fair. This year it's going to be virtual. We'll bring some of these people back along with 60 or more colleges from all over the country, some of who are presenting in other IACAC panel sessions as well. But we had the opportunity to visit all of these programs, I think, 2 years ago, I think, and had the chance to interact with them and talk to them and see the actual places, and really was a wonderful, wonderful experience. If you have the opportunity to go up there and you're not really sure about which school or which experience might be the best for you, you can see all of them in one weekend, in a day or two, and really have a really nice time down there. So whenever that opens up again, hopefully you'll be able to get down there and see the schools. Otherwise, the virtual tours, I'm sure they have some of them going on there. The Zoom certainly is a really great way to connect right now in this day and age as well. So again, it's Jessica from UW-Madison, Scott from Madison College, Marissa, you heard from the Cutting Edge, also spoke about Edgewood College, the other disability services available there. Jake is with Mansfield Hall. And again, if you could just take a look at that Post-Secondary Choices link, we'll have some type of virtual, it won't be a synchronous virtual fair. We'll have some downloadable PDFs and PowerPoints that different colleges are going to present for you on that evening there on October 20th. Okay. I am going to stop sharing. So hopefully you can see them in the recorded version down the road. And I see Stephanie on there. So Stephanie, go ahead and take it away.
Thanks, Ron. We have about 10 minutes left in the presentation, so feel free to submit any questions. I'll ask them to all of our presenters. And feel free, if all of you have a response, feel free to chime in, or we can just take one and then move on to the next question. Again, if we don't get to your question, we do have a transcript, and each individual school will get back accordingly or as it applies. So the first question is, are all services available for students, or can students choose what services they require to be successful?
I can start. This is Jessie from UW-Madison. In terms of service selection, it's definitely a partnership between the access consultant within the disability office and the student. So really understanding kind of how disability impacts where that need is and identifying the appropriate accommodation or service to support that need. So a student might come in with many years of experience using a handful of accommodations, and by all means those might be the exact accommodations that we approve on campus. However, as the post-secondary professionals, we might also be able to identify potentially some additional impact or understanding the environment a little bit better, be able to offer up some new suggestions. So whether that's trying out a new note-taking support, such as a smart pen, or looking at a different kind of tweak to an accommodation that they've used in high school that might be a little bit more applicable to the university setting, that's kind of our role. So it's definitely an interactive process where we're working with the student, we're hearing their input, and we're really kind of coming up with that plan together to make sure that, again, we're tying it to disability need and impact, but also hearing the student and really responding to their desires.
Great, thank you, Jessica. I see Marissa, would you like to contribute as well? I appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely. So this question was asked when I was speaking, so I'm not sure if this is specific to our program or not, but so our supports that we offer, the peer supports that I offered, so the course coaches, independent living mentors, community engagement mentors, et cetera, et cetera. So all of those supports and all of these accommodations that I mentioned are all included in the support fee that students and families will pay for as part of their tuition. So all of these supports are definitely covered by that, and all of these supports are available. Similar to what Jessica said, like we work together as a team to really establish what's going to work best for the student. We usually start our student off with all of these supports, and then we adjust as needed. So, you know, and the goals are always going to look different. So, for example, for an independent living mentor and student partnership, it might start out with just kind of getting settled into the residence hall, making sure laundry gets done and cleaning gets done, that kind of thing. But then as our students go to exit our program, we're looking at cooking and grocery shopping and budgeting and that kind of thing. So it's really a developmental process. We meet every semester to discuss these goals and discuss these supports and accommodations and how they might adjust. So we work together as a team to discuss what's going to work best for the student.
Great, thank you, Marissa. Jessica, could I direct this question to you? I have a question stating, isn't it difficult for a child with a disability to be accepted under the general admission process? Should be able to speak.
For sure, yeah, thanks for that question. And this is a question that we get a lot, and I just like to specify that the McBurney Center is not a separate program on campus that results in a certificate or degree of any kind, right? We're purely academic support for the institution. Therefore, any student that gets admitted will be taking the same courses as students without disabilities on campus. So they need to be kind of ready for that rigor and that expectation in those said courses. So if a student is applying and has a concern, or let's say something on their application that might not quite meet maybe the standard as posted on the admissions website, and if that's directly tied to potential disability, maybe late diagnosis, something like that, I would encourage folks, if they're comfortable, to actually in the essays and applications for the university, maybe disclose a little bit or share a little bit more about that potential red flag, if you will, for the admissions counselor reviewing the application. Not required, of course, but just a suggestion and a question that we get often. So again, McBurney is not like a separate program. There's no separate program for students with disabilities. Everything is integrated in. Therefore, the course rigor and expectation is the same. We exist within that framework to provide accommodation and equal access to that education, as some of the accommodations I mentioned before. So a very good question, and there are some other institutions and programs out there that exist specifically for students with disabilities. Ours is the support for campus at large. Thus, the students need to be admitted, I guess, on their own accord, just as any student would.
Thank you. I appreciate that response. I've had a few questions, and I frequently get asked regarding the financial aid aspect and the scholarships available. This would go out to all three of you. Do you have any tips, tricks, suggestions for families and students obtaining financial aid and scholarships?
Sure, I can jump in. I'm not the expert on all scholarship, things scholarship, but WISH WISH is the acronym for the University of Wisconsin Scholarship Hub, and there you can actually enter in a profile students can enter in their profile and kind of identify maybe some interests, some experience, potentially disability. There are some disability-related scholarships as well, and through entering in this process or this application or this profile, it will actually pull in the scholarships applicable for each student based on what they've entered, and then you can kind of weed through it and read the specifics of each scholarship opportunity. But WISH, W-I-S-H, if you just go to the wisc.edu, wisc.edu homepage and type that in, you'll be able to kind of peruse all of the options and see the process for scholarships.
Great, thank you. Jake, would you be also able to contribute to that question? I see a lot of questions around financial aid for Mansfield Hall.
Thanks. Unfortunately, Mansfield Hall does not offer any scholarships, and we don't fall under the FAFSA umbrella because we're not the college or the university, and the FAFSA umbrella is really designed to help fund the school aspect of it, and we're sort of secondary to that. Mansfield Hall does fall under the umbrella that applies to College 529 college savings funds. There's also some back-end tax savings that can be utilized with Mansfield Hall, but ultimately Mansfield Hall would fall into the fee-for-service area of these kinds of supports and services, and things like that there are going to be some things on a college campus, like working with the Office of Student Services, working with McBurney Center. That's just part of the tuition. That is something that students are benefiting from as a student at the university. Mansfield Hall being a separate thing, we're actually separate from that whole system.
Great, thank you. And Marissa, do you have any tips on that topic?
Sure. So I can just speak to our program specifically. So our program is a comprehensive transition program. So what that means in terms of financial aid, so our students who are seeking a degree have access to full financial aid as any other traditional college student would. But then because we're a comprehensive transition program under the federal government, our students who are not seeking a degree are also eligible for Pell Grants. So if a student falls within that Pell Grant range, they would be eligible to receive one. And then in addition to that, we as a cutting edge program offer scholarships on an annual basis for our students. So upon admission into our program, a student would most likely receive a scholarship if they apply. They're not necessarily guaranteed that exact same scholarship every single year, but we do try our absolute best to make that happen for the family. And then lastly, I will say this is specific to Wisconsin, but our students have been able to use IRIS funding. So IRIS is a long-term care insurance program in the state of Wisconsin. And so students have been able to utilize those dollars towards specific parts of our program as well.
Great, I appreciate that input. Another general question, if all of you could chime in, I know we only have a few more minutes, just how many students in general do you serve and how many providers do you have to work with that amount of students?
So Mansfield Hall in Madison, we work with up to 22 students residentially, and our full staff in Madison is 15 professional staff all told. Obviously not 15 people on all day, every day, but we staff the building from 7 a.m. until 11 at night in each of those multiple domains that we're working with students. So it's a pretty comprehensive professional staff relationship, as well as our 22 students residentially. And then we have students who have spent a year or two with us residentially, but then move on into the community and might be receiving non-residential supports and services. And we usually have another 15 or 20 of those students sprinkled throughout the colleges and universities around Madison. So, yeah.
And the McBurney Center has about 3,500 students currently affiliated with our office. We have 10 access consultants in addition to a couple other kind of partial access consultants. And so caseloads for each access consultant, 350-ish to 400. That's a high number. However, keep in mind that some students kind of once they have the accommodations that they need, they're good to go, and there's no requirement that they interact with us on an ongoing basis. There are also students with whom I have met weekly for 4 years. So it just kind of depends on the student need. But our office in total has just about 30 staff, and that ranges from deaf and hard of hearing services to assistive technology teams, our leadership, and then the access consultants.
Great, thank you. Rachel, I think you're on mute.
Oh, thank you.
There are a few more questions we didn't get to, so we will be sure to answer those directly to you. So thank you all.
So thank you so much for joining us today. After I close this window, you will get a very quick 4-question survey, and we really hope that you are able to fill that out. That'll help us with these sessions. We'd love for you to sign up for more sessions at IACAC.org. And again, as we mentioned, a recording will be available at IACAC.org shortly. Thank you again for joining us today, and we will finish answering those questions. Once we receive them, we'll reach out to people. Thanks again. Have a great day. Bye-bye.